And the first album was Soul on Ice.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the standout on that album was Nature of the Threat.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it wasn't my standout. I wrote it. I wrote that song to put on my second album. But when I wrote it, my mother just felt like it was important, and I needed to put. I figured I was gonna really fucking burn my bridges if I put that song out. And it probably did happen that way. But that was it was originally written for myself, and I was gonna put it on my second album. My mother felt like it was important, and I put it on I put it on the first album. That song, Nature of the Threat, and I would say the remix to Soul on Ice that Diamond D did would be the songs that people kind of know.
Okay. For those who haven't heard it, can you spit some of the lines from Nature of the Threat?
Let freedom ring with a buckshot, but not just yet. First, they need to truly understand the nature of the threat, and the pale man walks through the threshold of darkness. Roughly 30,000 years ago, the first humans evolved with the phenotypical trait, genetic recessive, blue eyes, blonde hair, and white skin. Albinism apparently was a sin to the original man, African, so the mutants traveled north of the equator, called Europeans later, the first race haters. So here's the devil's alpha to the beta. Because history's best qualified to teach one, quoting German philosopher Schopenhauer, every white man is a faded or a bleached one. Migration created further mutation, genetic drifts, evolution through recombination, adaptation to the climate, as the Caucasus mountain man reverted to that of a primate, savage Neanderthals, until the late Paleolithic age. That's when the black Grimaldi man came, with the symbol of the dragon, fire and art, check cave paintings in France and Spain to the Venus of Willendorf.
Okay. A lot of feathers got ruffled when this came out. I mean, you essentially call white people albino mutants, savages.
Well, now, if you go take some classes, I didn't make it up. So if you take evolution of man, period, albino variant is how you get the evolution of white pigmentation becoming and it's not even, there's only one race, there's a human race. And even if you think of the term human, H-U-E, hue, colored man, people of color, the evolution to lose that pigmentation, you'd have to be somewhere else for that to even evolve. Blue eyes is only 10,000 years old. There's no, like these people are changed based on their environment. Just like birds and fish and everything else. That's why you can have a black bear and then you move it somewhere north and it becomes a brown bear. And if you move it really, really, really far north, it becomes a polar bear. And if you isolate it, it becomes a koala bear. That's how life works. And so, when you come from a Western civilization point of view, people get offended because they don't want, that they can go to college and take these same courses, physical anthropology, cultural anthropology, world history, and then get into specific histories, U.S. history, fucking, whatever. Theology, all that. So I just did the research. I took, my whole thing was taking, like I said, linguistics, physical and cultural anthropology and history classes, and using that along with other books, including Encyclopedia Britannica, and it pissed people off because really more Americans, because the crazy thing is that European people and German people, maybe they read more books, they would be like, oh, you quoted Schopenhauer. You quoted him and he did say that. This is a guy that Hitler wanted to say that the Aryans were blonde-haired, blue-eyed people and that Jesus was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed person. And Schopenhauer came back with fear of getting his head chopped off by the Nazis. He was a blue-eyed, blonde-haired man that believed in the supremacy of white men and had to come back after doing the research and said, every white man is faded or bleached. I wanted to believe this, but the facts lead me to this. And so it pissed Americans off because Americans are kind of stupid, especially white Americans. I'm sure this will piss people off some more. When you think you're more European than the Europeans, you're stupid as fuck. So Americans think they're whiter than Europeans, and that's insane. Blacks and other people of color just don't know who the fuck they are, so they're too busy assimilating into a system that doesn't want them.
That's deep. That's deep. I mean, I think the example about the bears is kind of, I mean, that makes perfect sense. I mean, ultimately, you're going to need more melanin in your skin if you're closer to the equator,
Exactly.
and you're going to need less melanin in your skin if you're farther from the equator.
Yes,
You know,
and that's
I
a rule
mean,
with mammals. That's a mammal rule. That's how it works with mammals, and we happen to be
right,
mammals.
but that's just basic evolution. It's not. I mean, I guess you could say it's a mutation because one mutation happens and then that you end
Evolution
up
is
reproducing.
mutation. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I see what it is. I see how you're saying. I guess the way you presented it, people are going to take offense based on some of the words and language. But
Oh yeah,
when
you can say
explain it,
things one way and make it nicer. I wasn't necessarily trying to be nice. Honestly, I mean, point taken. There's more than one way to say something, and I definitely took, a meaner route. I always say like I stand behind. There's a few things that in research I found, I said wrong, but I stand behind it. But I said it in a mean way instead of kind of saying things out of love. But it was called Nature the Threat, so it wasn't a love song. It was a history of, think about the people that, my grandmother was told that we had tails and swung on trees in Africa. So how should I feel? You understand what I'm saying? Even in 1945, when black, the most documented regiment in World War I and II were black regiments that got inferior weapons, and then people went and told them we had fucking tails. They went to Europe and told them that the American blacks have tails. So yeah, I think I had the right to write Nature the Threat and be a little bit angry. They shoot unarmed black men. Like people, like it's apples and oranges, and I do understand that, people, their sensitivities get ruffled. But think of fucking the Emmett Tills and the fucking Trayvon, people are getting murdered and killed still today. And then when we civilly say shit, even if we don't say it civil, KKK gets to march around with tiki torches and run over people. Like, that's fucked up. We don't live in a fair country, let alone world.
right? Well, I guess you've mentioned that Nature of the Threat still applies today, especially with the Trump era.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I mean, Soul on Ice. I think the first album holds up. Period. Like, but I mean, so do most. When you're talking about governance, when you're talking about especially Western civilization, you're talking about a certain people going through the planet and cutting it up, and then raping the population, and then saying, well, the rape babies are better than the natives. And that's kind of the world we live in, but you're not white like me. So that's kind of the world we live in. And so Nature the Threat, anybody that has written anything in the past 2,000 years, it would hold up if you're talking about how the system works. Lighter is better. Disenfranchised people that don't own their land. Look at the Native Americans. Trump just took a whole bunch more land. Fuck anything that you hold sacred. Let's dig up and search for fucking fossil fuel that is not gonna work in the next 10, 20 years. Somebody's got to lose in society, especially when you're talking about in a democracy or in a capitalistic society. Even in a democracy, because technically it means mob rule. Demo is Latin for mob, and cracy is rule. So mob rule is if we all get together and decide to kick the gay dude's ass, that was democracy, that was right. And it wasn't right. We shouldn't go all say, fuck it, let's beat up the gay guy or beat up the black guy or beat up the Jewish guy. So democracies can be wrong. And so when you pinpoint what's wrong in any system, especially when it's white superiority and it's really white male privilege, then white males get upset about that, of course. And the ironic part is then some white males say, you know what, you're right, brother. This is some hypocrisy shit going on. And then they fight the battle with us. Because at the end of the day, it's still only the human race. It's just some assholes are just getting away with a lot more than others right now.